Amin and the Ghul. Long ago, a young man called Amin set out from a Persian city to get work. He was so poor that he only had two things to take on his journey. These were a raw egg and a lump of salt. He had nothing to defend himself with from any of the dangers of the road. He walked all day across a stony plain, and just as it was beginning to get dark, the poor fellow could see an enormous ghoul coming towards him. A ghoul is a very unpleasant kind of demon. This one was very ugly and as tall as a tree. There was nothing to hide behind, so Amin decided to walk straight on and try to look as bold as he could. "Where are you going?" shouted the ghoul in a nasty voice, and he put out an arm as thick as a tree trunk to stop Amin. "Well, the fact is," answered Amin, "I'm very strong, and so I thought I would go out into the world to find a ghoul who is as strong as I am." "Ha!" laughed the enormous ghoul. "You don't look very strong." "Perhaps not," said Amin, "but then you look small for a ghoul." This answer annoyed the ghoul, for he was very proud of his strength and size. "Nonsense! How lucky that we met," went on Amin. "Now we can see which of us is the stronger." Then, before the ghoul could answer, Amin stooped and, searching about, picked up a roundish white stone, held it to his ear, and shook it. "There's liquid inside the stone. I can hear it," he said as he handed the stone to the ghoul. While the ghoul was doing his best to crush the stone in his enormous hand, Amin managed, without his noticing, to get the egg out of his pocket. "It's impossible," said the ghoul at last. His face was red from squeezing so hard. "Impossible? It's easy," said Amin. "Give it to me." Then there was a cracking noise in Amin's hand, and the ghoul, peering down, could see that something was trickling down from between his fingers. The astonished ghoul couldn't understand it. "Don't worry," said Amin. "Even if you couldn't manage that, just try again." Once more, Amin stooped down to get a stone. He pretended to look carefully at it. "This one is full of salt," said Amin. "Just crumble it between your fingers." Again the ghoul tried hard, but found that he couldn't crush this stone either. While he was trying, Amin got the lump of salt from his pocket and hid it in his hand. "How strange," said Amin at last. "You can't do the easiest things. Give it to me." So the ghoul handed him back the stone, and in a moment Amin had crushed his lump of salt against it. "I don't believe it's salt," said the ghoul. "Taste it," said Amin. "It certainly tastes like salt," said the ghoul doubtfully. "And you certainly do seem to be rather strong. But it's getting so dark that I can't be sure of anything. Come to my cave, or we'll have supper, and we can both try again tomorrow." Of course, Amin did not want to go with the ghoul, but he had to accept his invitation. They walked a long way, with Amin running to keep up, to the ghoul's cave in some high cliffs. During supper, Amin boasted a good deal and made up stories about how strong he was, but the ghoul didn't know whether to believe him or not. Then the ghoul decided that he had to get rid of this young man. When they were both in bed, Amin pretended to go straight to sleep. But really he was listening carefully, waiting until the ghoul was asleep. Presently Amin heard him begin to snore. Amin crept out of bed. He found a big sack of rice and dragged it to his bed. He put the bedclothes over it and hid. Just as dawn came, the ghoul woke up and, with a walking stick as big as a tree trunk, crept over to Amin's bed. Feeling sure that Amin was sound asleep, he hid the bed covers as hard as he could. To make quite sure that he would hear no more from Amin, the ghoul did this 7 times. Well pleased, he went back to his own bed. The ghoul fell asleep again, and Amin crept out of his hiding place. He pulled away the sack of rice and lay down on the bed. Presently, when it was lighter in the cave, Amin sat up and called out, "Forgive me for waking you, dear friend, but there's a little insect banging about in your cave." The ghoul woke with a start, horrified to find that his visitor was still alive. Amin, he thought, really must be tough if the wax with a heavy stick felt like an insect. Amin's next word frightened the ghoul still more. "That insect gave me 7 little taps. It was as if it wanted to wake me up, quite gently." Speechless, the ghoul sprang out of bed and rushed out of the cave. Amin guessed that the ghoul would come back, and as you know, he had nothing with which to defend himself. He began looking around the cave to find a weapon. What he found was an old gun and some small bullets. The bullets would have no effect on the thick hide of the ghoul. However, this was all he could find, so he took it and went and hid outside the cave. Soon Amin saw the ghoul returning. He was striding along with a huge club in his hand, and by his side trotted a fox. That clever fox will have told the ghoul the truth, thought Amin. What can I do? Then he thought, these small bullets will be enough for the fox. So he aimed at the fox instead of the ghoul, and he shouted, take that, fox, for not obeying my orders. Bang went the gun, and the fox fell down dead. Then Amin came out of his hiding place and said calmly to the astonished ghoul, I told Sly Fox to bring me 7 ghouls to give to the Shah, and he only brings you. What good is that? For you are my slave already. The ghoul was frightened and rushed away, crashing through the bushes until he was just a dot on the horizon. He'll never come back, said Amin to himself. Well pleased, Amin was now free. Happily, he found in the cave treasures that the ghoul had stolen over the years. Amin took enough to make him rich for the rest of his life.